After a 2-year layoff, the WRC has returned to the Mediterranean island of Cyprus, and this event also marks another return, as this will be the first mixed surface event since 1996. Rally Cyprus will start on the tarmac and then head for the gravel on the last 2 days. A big challenge in itself for the world's best drivers, but with the added difficulty of having to do it all on a gravel setup.
It's quite new for everybody. We don't know exactly where we're standing in speed, but on the shakedown now it's gone well, and it's an interesting thing. You know, I think it can be great.
I think it's quite exciting. It's something a bit different, so it mixes it up. It's going to be tricky on the tires and the brakes.
Not the same grip with the slick tires, no, and it's not the same feeling in tarmac tires.
You've got to remember that you don't have tarmac brakes and tires, so obviously your braking is a lot earlier, and you've just got to try and be as smooth as you can on these tires.
It's going to be very difficult to go over there with gravel tires and gravel brakes.
The brakes will be a big problem.
Sebastian Loeb knows all about winning on these surfaces, and he will be going for an unprecedented 50th WRC win this weekend.
I don't know if it will change a lot to have 50 or 49 wins, but yeah, for sure we are trying to win our 50th rally, so it's not the thing I think to. I think I will count when I will retire.
And we'll hear more about how the Master will approach this event later. Seb also knows how to win on the snow, and his win in the last round in Norway made it 2 out of 2 so far this season. His 20-point maximum puts him 6 points ahead of Ford's Mikko Hirvonen in the Drivers' Championship. And Loeb's Citroën team are also out in front in the manufacturers' standings, where they hold a 10-point lead over Ford. So Ford have it all to do, and not only do they have to contend with 2 different surfaces, they also have to be aware that the Cypriot gravel has a fearsome reputation as a car breaker. And we'll be looking back at some of the memorable moments in Rally Cyprus history later in the programme. The cars need to be tough to get through these stages, and so do the drivers' bodies. We'll be giving you an insight into how they get into shape for some of the toughest tests of the season. The Cyprus Rally is based in the popular holiday resort of Limassol, but head away from the beaches and bars and you'll hit the Troodos Mountains, where the 14 stages are situated. The first 6 of those are on tarmac, the remaining 8 are on gravel. But let's get on with the action, and here with the lowdown on the day 1 stages is Petter Solberg.
Well, here we are in Cyprus. Day 1 of the rally. It's smooth, it's fast, and it's long stages. But first day, it's more like Spain. 3 stages who's going twice, and it's going to be very tough, and it's going to be very exciting of a different type of Cyprus rally on the first day with gravel tires.
But one driver who won't be experiencing those stages is Petter's older brother Henning. A collision with a truck on the road section to stage 1 has ended his day already.
A car just went straight out in the road, so I could not do anything. 2 cars went just straight out.
Oh dear, yes.
So it was a shame.
A step into the unknown for day 1 then. Tarmac stages with gravel tyres, and Sebastian Loeb in the stylish new Citroën colours is about to get us underway. A brutal 30-kilometre stage first in the Troodos Mountains, and it's a wide, sweeping road early on here. As Petter just mentioned, it's not dissimilar to Rally Catalunya, but it's also very dirty in places. Not an easy start to this new-look Cyprus rally, and we could see a lot of sideways action as these gravel tyres struggle for grip on the sealed surface. Look at that, Loeb clearly pushing hard, using every inch of the road. Mikko Hirvonen hasn't found a way to beat the world champion yet this year. Will this unique event provide an opportunity for the Finn? To make things trickier, the brakes on the cars are designed for use on gravel too, with smaller discs than the tarmac versions, which means they'll be less effective and also more likely to overheat. It all makes for a difficult start to day 1. Like his Citroën teammate, Dani Sordo is supremely talented on asphalt, so these stages could be crucial to the Spaniards' hopes this weekend. And it's looking like a solid getaway from Dani. He doesn't seem to be too bothered by the alien sensation of using a gravel spec car on tarmac so far. Jari-Matti Latvala has almost 70 World Rally starts under his belt, but surprisingly has never competed here before, so his lack of experience could count against him. The Finns approaching the 14.5-kilometre marker, so with the leading 4 drivers all well on their way into the opening stage now, we can simulate how they've compared so far in the Panagea test. Approaching our 4th split time, 14.5 kilometres in then, and it's that man, Sebastian Loeb, out front again. The Frenchman over 5 seconds up at that point, but pretty close behind him, just 8/10 separating Sordo and Hirvonen. Latvala is already over 12 seconds off the pace. Loeb on course to make a stunning start then. Interestingly, Seb's opted to use slightly worn tyres at the front of his car this morning, and they seem to be providing plenty of grip. He clears stage 1 in a time of 22 minutes, 1.3 seconds. So have Loeb's tactics worked? Hirvonen's using just new tyres, and judging on his Citroën rival's pace, that may not have been the best call. Into the flying finish, and Mikko's going to be a lot slower. Almost 14 seconds down already. This could be a long day for Ford's number 1.
Well, we lost a lot, that's for sure, but we'll see how it goes now. It was very difficult to find the rhythm for tarmac with these tires, so not really happy with my driving. But we'll see.
Sordo too is using new tyres, and he's also a massive 13.5 seconds down on his teammate. He does at least stay ahead of Mikko by just 0.4 of a second. Jari-Matti Latvala was 4th fastest in that opening stage, but nearly 18 seconds slower than Loeb. In 5th place, a further 11.8 seconds back is Sebastian Ogier. Petter Solberg was 6th fastest. As you have seen from that first stage here at Rally Cyprus, the drivers face a unique challenge. Day 1 is run entirely on tarmac, but using gravel tyres with gravel brakes. 5 times world champion and tarmac expert Sebastian Loeb has judged perfectly how to get the best out of his C4 in this situation.
It's difficult to know exactly if you have to slide more or less to find the braking points, because you have to brake very early compared to a normal tarmac rally. So yes, we have to find a bit our limits.
The key area of concern is how the gravel brakes cope with the twisty tarmac stages.
The problem is that gravel brakes are smaller than on tarmac, and so as long we have no brakes problem, it's okay. But it can have, because on tarmac you still have a bit more grip than on gravel, so it will be hard for the brakes. Especially, I think stage 3 is a big downhill, and so we will see. I hope the brakes will be okay.
Driving a gravel car on tarmac requires a retuning of the instinctive mental responses the driver would have when using a tarmac car on this surface.
Now we've done the first stage. I think everybody took a bit the feeling with the brakes, and yeah, when the car starts to slide, it's maybe a bit more difficult to catch it back because than on gravel.
If you go with a lot confidence, it's not the same grip with the slick tires, no, and it's not the same feeling in tarmac tires. But it's for that we need to take a lot of concentration for drive like that.
Citroën will be impressed that Dani is a man who's clearly learnt from his mistakes. In Rally Cyprus 2006, after 2.5 days of driving on gravel, he failed to adapt to the fact that he was driving on a gravel setup on tarmac for the super special stage in Limassol.
Dani, he braked too late in the first braking of the stage. That was his problem. Maybe he was not concentrated, and he saw tarmac and he thought he can brake like on tarmac. That was his mistake, but after that, when you start the stage, you take the feeling, and then it should be natural.
Let's join Sebastian out on the stages again as he tackles the next 2 tarmac tests. He's passing through one of the tricky downhill sections he just mentioned and is looking in complete control. Loeb is a master of conserving his brakes as well as his tyres, and having rotated his new tyres from the rear to the front for the third test, he again seems to have got his tactics spot on. Seb makes it a clean sweep of 3 stage wins out of 3. Danny Sordo too has maintained his fine start, proving how far he's come since 2006. While unable to close up on his teammate, the Spaniard does beat Hirvanen's efforts again on stages 2 and 3. Ford's number 1 is struggling to find the grip on these dusty tarmac stages. Concerned about the gravel tyres' ability to cope with the surface, he's been unwilling to push and unable to match the Citroens for pace. Mikko is slipping further adrift with every passing kilometre, and in stage 3, Hirvanen is also beaten by his teammate. Sébastien Ogier is still within touching distance of the top 4. The Frenchman is 10.5 seconds behind Latvala after stage 2. Oh, but he's missed the junction there. Ogier coming close to hitting a Marshall's car, and he's going to lose a fair amount of time here getting the C4 back on the stage. Let's take another look. The stage breaks off to the left, but it was actually a pace note created after taking the wrong route during the recce that sent Ogier off to the right. And Ogier's unscheduled detour provides the opening for Petter Solberg to take advantage. With the 5th fastest time on stage 3, the Norwegian surges past to claim 5th. Sébastien Loeb more than equal to this Cypriot tarmac challenge. His lead after the first morning, 22.5 seconds. That lead is not just a testament to his mastery of these conditions, but also to Citroen's tyre tactics. At the service stop in Limassol, Seb is explaining the thinking behind using worn tyres on this morning's stages.
New tires have a lot of rubber, and so the gravel tires is moving a lot. The rubber is getting softer when it's getting more hot, and so it's moving and moving, and you cannot find a grip. And more you use the tire, more it begins to be like a slick. At the end, it's really a slick. So on tarmac, for sure, it's better.
So did Ford make the wrong call when selecting their tyres this morning?
I was quite happy with the stage 1. We were not so bad over there. We lost all the time in the next 2, and we could have used tyres over there. So okay, we lost a bit maybe in the first one, but then it was even worse in the next 2. So I don't think it made, for us, it didn't make such a big difference.
But Mikko has chosen to go with a used set of tyres for the afternoon stages. Find out if he can close on the Citroens after the break. Welcome back to the FX Pro Cyprus Rally, where Sébastien Loeb, with the help of some inspired tyre tactics, holds a 22.5 second lead. And here is the Citroën driver in stage 4. He continued the same attacking performance he put in this morning.
Plus long, Tarcan de légère sur frein, 70 mètres droite, 100 000 rasé. Et gauche ferme 90 long, pas corde.
And there's a couple of small gravel sections to negotiate here in stage 4. Mikko Hirvonen has followed the tactics of his Citroën rival by using worn tyres for these afternoon stages. But unlike most of the field, with Pirelli's gravel tyre proving much more durable than many had expected on asphalt, the Finn's only carrying one spare to save weight. It's a risky tactic, but will it pay off? Danny Sordo has again proved he's more than a match for Ford's flying Finns on tarmac today, even with the unfamiliar sensation of driving on gravel tyres. Danny has opted to use worn tyres at the front of the car, as has Jari-Matti Latvala. The Finn is still hanging on to his teammates' coattails, and despite his lack of experience on this event, he's still doing just about enough to stay in touch with the podium positions. Back with Hirvonen though, and he's certainly looking determined to fight back after Loeb's devastating display of driving this morning. The Frenchman has already completed the stage, but the time is still not there for Mikko. He's already slower. That's slightly better than the first run through, but still over 8 seconds down on the rally leader. Mikko still without an answer to Loeb's pace, but will that display concern Dani Sordo? C4 still looking loose on those gravel tyres and dampers, and he's going to lose some time to an improving Hirvonen here. 6.2 seconds slower, but he's still over 13 seconds ahead overall. Petter Solberg has improved on his time through here this morning. He was less than a second slower than Latvala, but still over 30 seconds behind overall.
Into early 6 Raikkonen to 5 left, tightens 2.
He needs to concentrate on keeping Sébastien Ogier behind. The Frenchman's lively day has continued meanwhile. Ogier again delayed by stalling on the start line here. And he'll have to attack hard to try and minimise the time lost. But a spin for Sébastien as well. And taking another look, he just loses grip midway through this corner. It's becoming a frustrating afternoon for the youngster. That left Ogier 46.3 seconds adrift of Solberg. Behind him, the top 8 is completed by Evgeny Novikov and Matt Wilson. But out in front with an advantage of 36.8 seconds, it's Sébastien Loeb. This is the rally leader on stage 1, full of commitment through that corner. Let's compare his line to that taken by Mikko Hirvonen's. You can see the Ford driver on the tarmac while Loeb goes wide onto the gravel as he aims to maintain as much speed as possible. And let's compare them through that same section on Virtual Spectator. Sébastien looking like he was much quicker into that corner. And the speedometer tells us he was 11 kilometers an hour faster. It's driving like that that's given him his commanding lead. But can the championship leader continue that kind of pace through the final 2 stages of the day? There's a bit of rain around in the Troodos Mountains this afternoon, but Seb has that instinctive knack of knowing how to approach these stages in any conditions.
Mais attention, gauche 147 plus, ferme 120 moins, sur droite 110 plus low.
Dani Sordo, though, prevents his teammate from claiming a clean sweep of stage wins on the first day. With a time 2.2 seconds quicker than Sébastien in stage 6, it's Dani who's quickest there, but he still ends the day almost 42 seconds down on Loeb. It's been a perfect day for Citroën, but over at Ford it's been very frustrating. Mikko Hirvonen has got closer to Loeb's times this afternoon, but he still ends the day a minute behind. Even though we're switching to gravel for the final 2 days, making up a minute will be a tough ask for the Finn. Veli-Matti Latvala has tried hard on his Cyprus debut, but he too has found it difficult to attack on the gravel tyres today. Veli-Matti ends the day just over 8 seconds behind his teammate. So at the end of the tarmac section of Rally Cyprus, a dominant display from Sébastien Loeb sees him holding a 41.8 second advantage over his teammate Dani Sordo, with Hirvonen another 18.4 seconds back. So a big test for the drivers today, and a big test for the tyres.
Mario, what have the drivers told you about the performance of the gravel tyre on tarmac?
Honestly, they were very happy because they didn't expect such a good performance. The tire wear was very, very good. At the end of the day, we had also some rain, and the tire were drivable enough, so we are quite happy of the result. We tested the gravel tire on tarmac with both the manufacturers, and the test result was okay, but the rally is a different story, so we have to learn a lot.
Tyres will remain the same for tomorrow's gravel stages, but a number of key setup changes are required. Will the Citroën C4 be as quick on the rough stuff? The changeover is also underway at Ford, and here's Malcolm Wilson to tell us more.
What they're doing now is we've still got the same dampers, but we're actually changing the springs to a gravel spring, which means that the car has got a lot more travel on the suspension, which can cope with the rough terrain. We're also changing the anti-roll bar, which is the part that basically gives you the body stiffness, the roll in the corners. So we're actually going back to a softer anti-roll bar, which should give a bit more compliance in the wheels on the gravel. It's pretty straightforward, but it's something that we don't normally do. We don't normally have a situation where you have one leg of the rally which is tarmac and the rest is gravel. So it's something that we've had to do a little bit of extra testing for to come up with a compromise setting, really. What you've seen when the car did drive in is it's not as low as we would probably have on a really smooth asphalt rally like you have in Catalonia or Corsica. Because of course what we've also had here is a lot of places where you can cut the corner, been lots of big rocks coming out as well. So we've had to increase the ride height slightly, but that's the difference that you will see when the car leaves here. It will be back up to its high ride height for the rough stage that we've got here in Cyprus.
And the first of those stages are coming up after this break. See you in a few minutes. Welcome back to the Cyprus Rally, where Sebastian Loeb is the leader after day one. Today's stages take place in Cyprus's Troodos Mountains. Here to tell us more is Peter Solberg.
So day 2 of Cyprus Rally is gravel. It's very twisty, and on the wreck it was very, very muddy, so we don't know exactly how it's going to be when we're coming on the stages. But it's still long stages, and there's no repeated. And it's going to be very exciting to see how it goes.
A heavy rainfall overnight has left much of the day 2 stages wet and muddy. And as we heard earlier, it will take some mental adjustment, having switched from tarmac to gravel for day 2. But it's the awful conditions that will be Loeb's biggest concern this morning. On contact with the bank there, showing how tricky these roads are. Just look at the mud and puddles here. You would not want to attack on a surface like this. He'll be comforted by his 40-second buffer to second place Danny Sordo. Mikko Hirvonen struggled to get to grips with the day 1 tarmac stages and comes into the gravel stages in 3rd place. He will have his sights set on taking 2nd from Danny Sordo. And on the day's opening stage, he reduces the deficit to just 7.5 seconds. All attention will now be focused on stage 8 in the mountains northwest of Limassol. We've got a battle on our hands, as if Danny Sordo doesn't have enough to contend with driving these treacherous conditions. He now has Mikko Hirvonen breathing down his neck. We can follow the fight for 2nd by comparing them through these split time markers. After day 1 on tarmac, Danny had opened an 18-second lead on Mikko. This morning, the Finn is back on his preferred surface and enjoying the role of predator ready to pounce. In terms of speed, there's little to split the two. The gap is now only 7.5 seconds. It's Danny Sordo into the stage first, knowing he has to do everything in his powers to hold off the Finn. It's not going to be easy tackling these conditions. He has to get the balance right between pushing hard enough to keep Mikko at bay while also making no mistakes. Mikko is here on the start line, ready to burst into the stage just 2 minutes after Danny and desperate to snatch the Spaniard's 2nd place.
Pitkävasen serpu takavisto vesi. Kun 4 oikea serpu takavisto.
Above all, he needs to keep Sebastian Loeb within reach in the championship battle. His Ford team will also want to make up ground on Citroën. You can see here on the map that Sordo has already passed the split at 10.6 kilometres, and as Mikko is fast approaching it, his Ford team will be relaying Sordo's times to him, so he knows exactly how hard to push. Here's Mikko just about to hit the first marker. An excellent start for the Finn as he takes a further 3.5 seconds from Danny.
4. Lyhyt vasen
Remember,
tosi
Sordo
hidas.
and Hirvonen are on the stage at the same time. Danny Sordo's performance on gravel is improving all the time, and it has to take the fight to a Finn who's grown up driving on surfaces just like these. The loose gravel turning to slippery, sticky mud can't be helping. You can see here that they've both passed the middle split, with Danny through the final one. Has Mikko continued to catch him?
Liukasjarru 4, oikea 2, lyhyt oikea tosi hidas. Heti lyhyt vasen servo.
On the second split, he was 6.4 seconds faster, now only a second behind overall. And there we have it, Mikko overtakes Danny. Second place will be his if he can hold on to the end of the stage without making a mistake. Remember, Mikko was just 7.5 seconds behind at the start, and it looks like he's done more than enough.
Oikein tosi hidas. Maali, vasen tosi hidas.
A fantastic performance from Mikko through that stage. He'll be thrilled to take Danny's second place. Veli-Matti Latvala too could potentially make it past Sordo, and after a fastest time in stage 7 will be brimming with confidence as he blasts into Pano Panagia.
Heti oikein 5, jatkuu vasen 3, heti oikein 6. Lyhyt vasen 3, heti oikein 6. Heti vasen 2, miinus 20. Ja huomioon lyhyt vasen 5, hämää, heti oikein 7.
Oh, but he's cut the corner there, and this could be another costly error from Veli-Matti. It wasn't a high speed off, but it looks like he's firmly stuck in the ditch at the edge of the road. More frustration for Latvala then, and comparing the Finns' approach with Loeb's using virtual spectator, we can try and uncover what went wrong here. Veli-Matti a lot faster into the corner, a full 10 kilometres an hour quicker in fact, and his slide off the road was the result. Running in 6th coming into the second day is Sébastien Ogier. The Citroën Junior driver has already had a lively weekend and has set about chasing down Petter Solberg. Oh, but a spin for Ogier. It's another setback for the Junior World Champion. And a stall now for Sébastien. Not a good start to the second morning. If he's not careful, his 6th position could come under threat here. Dear, oh dear, he's now overshot that corner. He really is all over the place out there on stage 8. To make matters worse, his windscreen wipers have now broken.
70 mètres. Droite 130 plus.
Oh no! It's even more drama for Sébastien, a full roll, and I don't think he's going to forget stage 8 of the Cyprus rally in a hurry. Amazingly, the car doesn't appear too badly damaged. Some nearby spectators also caught the action. A spectacular double roll for the French crew. Ogier's disastrous stage sees him slip to 7th, but moving in the opposite direction is Petter Solberg. With Latvala still stranded, the former Subaru driver is now up to 4th. And clearly attacking very hard on this second day. Back in the stage, meanwhile, Latvala has found some spectators to assist him, and they're trying to haul the focus out of the ditch. The brute force is eventually effective, but having lost almost 22 minutes getting the car back on the stage, his hopes of another podium finish are long gone. He does make it to the finish with a battered car and a bruised ego, and another explanation needed for his bosses at Ford.
I didn't have a correct thing in my note. It was like a left and immediate right, and I somehow it's like a mirage, the left and corner, and I came too fast to the left, so I had to turn in the right immediately, but there was a little drop, and I managed to turn it, but we got stuck in the drop. We were like okay, there were no spectators. I ran 1 kilometer as far as I can to see spectators, take them there, and we were working really, really hard to get car back to road.
The difficult conditions continue into stage 9, but with an advantage of almost a minute, Loeb can afford to ease off in the more slippery sections. Looking at the telemetry, you can see how hard he's having to work on these tight, twisty roads, constantly dabbing the brakes and rarely out of second gear here.
Sur longue droite, ferme 90.
Oh, but he's overcooked it with the handbrake slightly at the hairpin. Loeb's first major mistake of the rally so far. He's not lost too much time there, but he can't afford too many more errors like that. Loeb still leads, but behind it's a much-changed leaderboard at the end of the morning, with Sordo losing more time in stage 9. Hivenen's advantage is now 10.8 seconds. Petter Solberg is now 4th. The crews are now back at service.
Mikko, are you happy to be back on gravel today?
Yeah, definitely. I enjoy it a lot more, so it's good like this.
What were conditions like out there this morning?
They were changing quite a lot. There was a lot of sections which were really, really muddy, and there was no traction whatsoever. But most of it was damp, a little bit wet in places. So it was quite okay, but not of course not really a big advance for us.
What about catching Mikko? Is that the plan for this afternoon?
I will try for why not, but Citroën tell me it's important to take points, no? But I think it's only 10 seconds. Of course, I will try for why not, no? I don't not take a lot of risk, but I will try.
Gary-Matti Latvala has just proved his fitness with that 1 kilometre dash for help on stage 8. While rally drivers and co-drivers need to work hard to ensure they are in peak physical condition. The Cyprus Rally is famous for forcing immense physical and mental strain on the drivers, and the teams employ experts to ensure when the crews arrive at the event, they've reached the required fitness levels.
In the team there is Barry Johnson. He is working a lot with Matthew Wilson. He's a proper training coach, and he can help you with the training. He can take you to do some different things. He has a lot of different ideas in his head what you can do, and that's very interesting as a driver.
This one, being a very, very hard rally, is hard on forearms, hard on shoulders, hard on the neck. So 2 or 3 weeks prior to this, we'll do specific work in those areas. So we'll concentrate on the vertebrae, we'll concentrate on the side of the head, the shoulders and the forearms. And not forgetting the trunk as well, because braking and the lateral movement requires a lot of pressure actually in the car, and they need to be strong for it.
Yeah, but I'm quite strong in here, so it's not a problem.
Over 330 kilometres of competitive stages, the drivers and co-drivers take a brutal physical battering. The G-forces exerted in cornering and the toughness of the terrain covered mean there's no respite inside the car.
It's bump after bump. The back end's kicking up in the air, the front end is diving into these sort of compressions halfway through corners and so on. So as much as you can do with your neck strength, I think that's probably where most people would work on and try and get that as strong as possible.
When you don't stop to turn right, left, during the kilometers, it can happen that you can lose your mind a little bit, no? But it's okay, we are ready.
On event, the specialists are on hand to help with any aches, pains and muscle tears picked up out on the stages.
Just like every day, do my muscles here on the neck, and just to prevent them to get ill. So just like a pre-work. Don't wait to get stiff, just do work before you get stiff. That's the key word here.
Here I have to see them each day on the evening to reset the body and to be ready for the next day. And if we have some medical problem, I mean contracture of blocking vertebra or something like that, we have to correct the things as soon as possible.
The drivers know that physical fitness is essential to stand any chance of winning a rally.
When you compare it, it's now the 4th year that I'm following this on this highest level, and I see that they are more conscious about physical condition, and they do it, they prepare themselves better than it was in the past, I think.
1 second, flat out. Well done, well done, well done.
There are no repeated stages this afternoon, so instead we're heading out to the 31-kilometre Siliatos stage next, and another tough challenge for the waiting crews. Rally leader Loeb is first into action. With the road drying out, there's a lot of loose gravel around, which could cause Loeb some problems as the first car on the road. Danny Sordo is also finding the going very tough. The Spaniard clearly not happy on these slippery gravel stages. Really fighting with the wheel at times, all that extra training needed here, but he's unable to get into any kind of rhythm. Danny is well off the pace in stage 10. Mikko Hirvonen can consolidate his hold on second place here and is extending his advantage over the Spaniard at every split.
Lyhyt vasen nopea ja soppu rytkyjä 7. Ja rytky vasen laita 2 oikein tosi hidas sitä.
Challenging for first place can now only be the stuff of dreams, but as we rejoin Sebastian Loeb, it appears he has a problem. Loeb's pace is progressively dropping off as he struggles with a long brake pedal. This could be an opportunity for Hirvonen to make up some ground.
90 moins long. Tourne vers moi, hein.
Non, vers l'autre côté.
Ok.
Attends.
Ouais, droite pour 20 mètres. Gauche 80 moins.
Loeb clearly not happy, and with his split times tailing off, Hirvonen puts in a late charge in this stage.
Vasen hidas. Käännä.
He's faster than his Citroën rival, but 2.7 seconds is a drop in the ocean at this stage of the rally. Loeb still with a lead of over a minute then, despite his brake problems, but there are still concerns in the road section. Seb and co-driver Daniel Elena have been forced to bleed the brakes to get them working. These are worrying times for the Frenchman, with a 26-kilometre stage still to run. But one person who had no problems in that stage was Petter Solberg, who's been absolutely flying. Taking advantage of his clearer line, the Norwegian has stunned the front runners with his first fastest time of the weekend, and importantly, he smashed Sordo's effort by almost 35 seconds. Behind the front runners, Matt Wilson is now up to 5th. He took advantage of his road position to set the 3rd fastest time in stage 10. Evgeny Novikov has had a lively rally so far, but has climbed as high as 5th. Like many of his rivals, though, he's found it tough going today. A spin on stage 10 contributed to him falling to 7th.
Left 3 hard, don't cut narrow. Okay, left 3 hard, don't cut narrow. Left 3 hard, don't cut narrow.
What about the split?
It's fine. Left 3 hard, don't cut narrow.
Comrade Rauterback struggled to find a rhythm on the tarmac stages yesterday, but is showing signs of improvement on the gravel. The Zimbabwean has fought his way into the top 8. On his return to action with the Munchies Ford team, Federico Villagra is in 9th. He's been battling with Khalid Al-Qassimi, but the Argentinian has done just enough to hold off his rival over the course of the day. Al-Qassimi has some experience of these roads, having competed here in the PWRC in 2006. After stage 10, the driver from Abu Dhabi was just over 25 seconds behind Villagra. Back to the top of the leaderboard as we rejoin Sebastian Loeb on stage 11, the last of the day. As we've seen, he and co-driver Daniel Elena had to bleed their brakes to get them working for this final test.
Sur gauche 60 plus long. Gauche 60 plus long ouvre. 50 mètres.
On a spin for Loeb.
Backfire de merde.
I think Seb will be relieved to reach the finish of this one.
Finally, we finished this day. Difficult afternoon. Two very difficult stages. We lost some time, but we're still in the lead, so that's the most important for the moment.
Petter Solberg was fastest again on that final stage, reducing the gap to Sordo to just 15.9 seconds. That could be the battle to watch tomorrow. Loeb has a lead just short of 50 seconds as he and Daniel Elena go for their 50th WRC victory. But with 3 more tough stages on the final day, he'll be taking nothing for granted. Find out what happens after the break. The final day's action from the Cyprus Rally coming up shortly, but first, here's a reminder of why this is regarded as one of the toughest events. The Cyprus Rally only made its entry into the World Championship in 2000 when Carlos Sainz took the victory, but in its short time on the calendar, it's given us some of the most memorable WRC moments. Colin McRae won in 2001, but the following year he delivered an even more eye-catching, if less successful, performance. He led going into the final day, but then rolled his Ford Focus. In classic McRae style, he went on to attack to regain his lead, but rolled again. He set about knocking the car into some sort of shape, eventually recovering to finish 6th. The heat was often an issue when this rally has been run in the summer, but for some drivers it got a bit too hot. Peter Solberg's debut here in 2001 ended in flames, while Francois Duval's quest for glory in 2005 ended in similar style. But in 2002 there was no chance of a fire on stage 12, Foini, when a freak rainstorm in the mountains brought some of the toughest conditions ever seen in the WRC.
Most terrible stage in my life. Here is dry, but in the forest completely it was raining. Water all over the road.
But back to 2009, and here with the info on the day 3 stages is Peter Solberg.
Today, the last day of Rally Cyprus, is 3 stages and possibly the longest stage of the World Championship this year, 40.5 kilometers on the last day, and that's tough.
And the first of those stages is Foini, the scene of that mud bath back in 2002. Rally leader Sebastian Obe will be happy that it's a bit drier this year. And Seb, remember, is going for that unprecedented 50th win, proof, if needed, that this man is the dominant force in modern rallying. So not quite the condition of 2002, but overnight rain has left much of the stages wet and muddy. Mikko Hirvonen has already conceded he'll probably need Loeb to hit problems if he's to have any hopes of passing the world champion. He's still keeping the pressure on though. Mikko beat Sebastian by just under 6 seconds in stage 12. The battle to watch on the final day though should be that for 3rd between Peter Solberg and this man Dani Sordo. The Spaniard saw his advantage slashed to 16 seconds late in day 2. So can Solberg and his privately entered Citroën Zara overhaul the WRC C4 of Sordo to claim a podium finish? Oh no, there's a problem for Petter here. The engine stopped under braking and it's taking an agonising amount of time to get the car restarted. After several seconds, the Norwegian is back on his way, but that's the last thing he needed in his pursuit of Sordo.
We stopped in the junction for 12 seconds, at least 12 seconds I think, maybe more. I couldn't get to the start and was on the wrong gear. Oh no. So the time would have been around 10 I think, 26:10 I think, yeah. Bloody oh.
Further back, Evgeny Novikov is on course for a 7th place finish on just his 2nd outing in a World Rally car. Whoa! Too close to that bank on the left-hander, and that's the end of the rally for the young Russian.
Switch everything off.
Despite his problem, Peter Solberg was still faster than Sordo, so we'll go into the remaining 2 stages just 13.2 seconds behind. But Loeb is looking safe in 1st with that 44-second advantage. On to the final pair of stages, which include a real sting in the tail for this year's Cyprus Rally. The 40-kilometre Anna duel could still play a big part in this rally. Loeb is still looking comfortable, though, in the lead. Having survived the dramas and delays of the previous afternoon, he's back in control of his destiny and getting closer and closer to another impressive victory. This last pair of stages will not be as comfortable though for Citroën's number 2, Dani Sordo. The Spaniard has Peter Solberg breathing down his exhaust pipe and is still not at his most comfortable on these wet gravel roads. He also has to ensure he finishes to secure crucial manufacturer points for Citroën. Petter has recovered from his worrying engine problem on the previous test, and on the Monster Anna Dew test, the Norwegian has a real chance of overhauling his 13-second deficit to Sordo.
6 left plus. Keep in to crest to 6 right minus. Tighten.
Yes, it's another tremendous stride from Solberg. He's completely destroyed Sordo's time to surge into 3rd. Moving on to the final stage of the rally, and Sébastien Ogier has just made it past Matthew Wilson to move into 5th place. Whoa, that's another mistake from the 25-year-old Frenchman. He's only 400 metres from the finish, and after a succession of mishaps, this time it's the end of his rally. He's stuck in that ditch and is not going anywhere. Up ahead, though, Loeb is charging on through the final few kilometres.
50 mètres, droite 80 Milon.
The hard work was done on the tarmac stages of this mixed surface event, but this victory has not come without its fair share of tribulations. No problems through stage 14 though, and that's another landmark passed. It's the 50th WRC win for Sébastien Loeb and Daniel Elena. The pair are simply unstoppable at the moment.
I remember when I beat the record of Carlos and Colin, and it's not so far behind, and now 50 is really a big number, a nice number.
It's been another good performance from Mikko Hirvonen in Cyprus. He struggled on the tarmac on Friday, but since then has been in terrific form. Once again, though, he's been beaten by one of the greatest talents this sport has ever seen. It's another runner-up spot and a crucial 8 championship points for Ford's #1. And what a story for Petter Solberg. Out in the cold following Subaru's withdrawal, the 2003 world champion has built his own team from scratch, and now in a 3-year-old Citroën Sara, a stunning drive has ensured that Petter and long-time co-driver Phil Mills finished 3rd. Their first podium since Greece last year. The emotion displayed at the finish line, an indication just how much this means to them.
Oh, what can I say? I was so happy with the first stage in the Rally Norway, but this is just amazing, honestly. I'm really, really, really happy.
Behind Petter, Danny Sordo made it home in 4th and Matthew Wilson finished 5th, while Conrad Rautenbach, Federico Valagra and Khalid Al-Qasimi also finished in the points. But with that 27.2-second winning margin, it's another 10-point maximum for Sébastien Loeb.
This combination of Sébastien and the C4, even a mixed surface event, didn't seem to rattle him.
Yeah, I think the car is quite good. Seb is the best. I didn't say the car is the best, but Seb, I'm quite sure, is the best. And with him, we got Danny too. And altogether, I think this is quite a strong team, even with all the team, the mechanics and everybody. This is why Citroën is winning very often.
So it's 30 points out of 30 so far this season for Sébastien, and that puts him 8 points ahead of Mikko Hirvonen in the drivers' standings. Petter Solberg moves up to 5th place. And Loeb's win added to Danny Sordo's 4th place finish sees Citroën increase their lead in the Manufacturers' Championship to 16 points, while Munchies Ford register their first points of the season. Make sure you join us for the Rally to Portugal, but we'll leave you with some memorable moments from Cyprus.